one of the biggest buzzwords in technology these days is open source. And we have open source computers, we have open source lots of things these days. But up to now, we really haven't had an open source mobile phone. But Sean Moss-Pulse's company, FIC, has created one. Yeah. It's called OpenMoko. What is OpenMoko?
So OpenMoko is the first integrated software stack for a mobile phone that starts from the kernel and goes all the way to the applications, and it's completely open source based, completely GPL based. And what it is it will be the first time that application developers will be able to develop for a licensed royalty-free mobile communications platform.
Now this is based on Linux, correct? And there are a lot of Linux phones out there.
Sure. So how we differ from the other Linux phones that are out there right now, Motorola makes Linux phones, lots of people are doing this now. What they do is they take the Linux kernel and they just sort of cram this into a small device. This is the actual phone, by the way. And so, but the top layers, the middleware and the GUI and the applications that are really important for the whole ecosystem to be built are not open. They're not in the spirit, if you will, of Linux. And so what we did was to open the whole thing, the entire software stack.
So what's so important about this? Why does it have to be open?
Okay, great. So let me give you an example. So right now we're talking, okay? And one of the things that a phone should be able to do is to turn its microphone on and sense ambient noises, be able to determine whether or not there's a conversation in this room. And so if there was, and if you had access to that hardware, the actual bits of the hardware, you'd be able to have the ringtone, go to silent during a voice conversation. And these are things you could only do if your phone was open. It's not possible in a closed system, even if you're using something like Java, or that is, somewhat open from an application standpoint.
Now, a phone can, just as Linux applications can be customized for, say, different vertical markets or different types of users as well. Could you give us some examples of those?
Sure. And this is sort of the most unexpected success of this whole project, is that there's lots of vertical companies, lots of big name enterprise companies, some branches of the government in Europe, especially in Italy, in Finland and Sweden, who are interested in using this device to put their software application on top of it. And so, for example, the Italian Forest Fighting Service wants to use this device to help track forest fires.
Now, if I were to get one of these phones, and I'm non-technical, Linux, the name makes my eyes glaze over. How easy is it going to be for somebody to maintain a phone like this if they're not a real technical user?
Okay, so in my opinion, sort of the killer application is not so much an application, if you will. It's called the application manager, and this allows you to connect to two different feeds. Think of RSS, if you will, but for applications. And one is a commercial feed, and one is a community feed. And the community is sort of the free-for-all, but the commercial feed, these are applications, also free software, also open source software, that has been tested, verified, ported, optimized for our device by us. And so if you're an end user, you'll have access to thousands of applications that have been certified, that have been tested. They're not going to cause problems to your phone. And you can just use those.
Thank you, Sean. Sean Moss-Pulse of FIC OpenMoko.